What's happening? This is Ryan Dawkins, and you're tuning in to The LOFT.
Have brought out the best of me.
Lafragola.
The strawberry in Italian.
Lafragola. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The LOFT. If you guys are new here, please like, comment, subscribe, and if you're not new, welcome back. Today with us, I have a very, very special guest for a lot of reasons. He is a professional MMA fighter, assistant wrestling coach at Drexel University, a three-sport D1 athlete. Ladies and gentlemen, CJ Lafragola. What's up, big dog?
What's up, Kev? Appreciate you guys having me on.
No worries, man.
Share my story a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you on, man. I've been seeing a lot of stuff you're doing and the hustle, and you are our first Club 215 officially sponsored athlete, which is huge, which is awesome. So thank you for that. We just want to we want to support athletes, and we've been seeing how much you've been doing and all the training and effort and work that goes into it, and your story. And that's why I wanted to have you on the pod too, because I want to chop it up and talk about that stuff, because I know it's not easy. And we were talking, before we started this. And you've been at this for a minute now. So you're 26 years old, and you have a one-on-one professional record, correct?
Yep, 1-on-1 professional. I did 5 amateur fights, before this, so 5-0 amateur, and then
nice.
I made the jump. And then just like you said, a lot of other stuff before that, but fighting kind of is the path I chose at this point. With my opportunities, I think it was the best chance to kind of get my name out there and just pursue a dream of mine to be. I always wanted to be a pro athlete. We'll get into other stuff, but it's like this was the best shot to kind of get there.
And you're a 3-sport D1 athlete. Yeah. Where'd you go?
Yeah. So coming out of high school, 3 sports forever. I played like every sport. Growing up in the book. I did lacrosse at one point. I did. If I could have done 4 sports in high school, I would have. But I did 3. Football, baseball, wrestling. And then growing up, football was like my dream one. I still joke around with people like, man, get me out there. I could try out. I see some smaller guys doing their thing. Like Covey's our boy. We always cheer for him. But so actually coming out of high school, I was leaning towards football, but then I got an opportunity to kind of academically I did well, and I was able to get into an Ivy League school, but with wrestling. So it was like
you went Brown for wrestling?
I went to Brown for wrestling. So originally I was going to try to do both sports. They were recruiting me for football and wrestling.
Yeah.
And but the coach for wrestling was really like, hey, we're recruiting you for wrestling first, and then football will be like a secondary thing. So it was tough choice for me to make, because like I did get some offers for football, some like 1AA level, Sacred Heart, where I ended up playing. They offered me. But talked to my parents, and everybody's like, look, you can't pass up the opportunity to go to Brown. And it's like, football's a dream, but wrestling actually turned out to be, now it's my livelihood. So it's like, it all worked out, but it was, it's like, paths get chosen for a reason. And, I think, I think I made the right decision at the end of the day, but, that led me into, Brown University. I wrestled there for 4 years, qualified for the NCAAs 3 times. Made it to the round of 16 with a broken wrist, So like I did a lot of stuff with the wrestling, but I still wanted that football dream. So I got a chance to play my grad year at Sacred Heart University.
What position were you?
So they had me in as a hybrid, like linebacker, but most of the stuff I did was like packages.
Yeah.
And then I also started on all like specials. They're like, this guy's a wrestler. They know he's gonna run down like a wild man on kickoff. Like one of the highlights, like I was able to go down on kickoff. I actually had a strip. I caused a turnover. I think I led the team in tackles and special teams between like punt, kickoff and all that. And and the guys loved having me around, because I'm not gonna not take it easy. Like I would hustle. I think I helped. I helped our defense kind of push the pace, as we say in wrestling. It's like when we do sprints and stuff, I was always the first dude in sprints.
Yeah, you were a dog.
So it's like stuff like that. Like I remember the conditioning test we come in was 110 yard, like I wouldn't even call them sprints. There's, in my opinion, they're striders, but like the guys are like, oh, this is hard. You're going to tire yourself out. You only got like 15 seconds. Make sure you use the whole 15. So I was finishing in like the skill player time, which like the running backs and DBs had like 12. Yeah. And like the one kid was like, yo, bro, chill. I'm like, I'm chilling right now. What are you talking about? And like that was when like they started like, oh, this kid works hard. And I think it like, even though I was kind of like a new guy on the team, I was a little older. Yeah. And I think it actually helped, motivate the guys that are like, hey, this dude's putting in the work, and he's like a new guy to the team, and he's trying to be a leader. And I felt the vibes were really good.
I can only respect that. And I feel like that translates so well into MMA. And so, like, how did you end up at Drexel coaching?
Yeah, so after the Sacred Heart thing, it was kind of you mentioned 3 sports. I actually the spring season I said, I've done 2. I'm like I always wanted to play 3 in college, so I actually went into the baseball office and just like made a case for myself and said, hey, this is what I did in high school. I played actually in the summer every now and then, so I still was like not super rusty. And they gave me like a tryout window, so I tried out for about 2 weeks, and then after about 2 weeks, with my effort and stuff, they put me in. They gave me an official spot on the team.
I'll tell you.
And then on one trip before they canceled the season, they started to work me in. I initially was just a base runner at first, so like my highlight of that career, short career because of COVID, was I stole second. It was the winning run. We beat Ball State because of me, kind of almost like that kind of thing, which was hard because I'd never been a pinch runner like that. I usually always would start. So like when you come in as a pinch runner towards the end of the game, like you're gonna try to get picked off 20 times, whatever.
Right.
I never slid back the first so many dang times, but it was a sick experience. 'Cause again, just like the football program, like the guys knew I worked hard. They knew I was tough. They knew I wrestled. They knew I had a cool background. And when I scored, like the hype was crazy. So
That's
it was
awesome.
like, get the boys going kind of thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned that COVID really like messed a lot up for athletes. When did you? So were you in your 4th or 5th year at for baseball, right?
Yeah, so that was my last college experience with athletics. And leading into like the Drexel thing. So like COVID happened. Everybody, world shut down. So like I'm like, shoot, what do I do? So I finished my grad program. It was actually in sports media. So like I don't mind talking on microphones and stuff. It was a cool program. I hope to use that, in the future sometimes, commentating or whatever with wrestling or MMA. But after I got done with that, I'm like, shoot, what am I going to do? Because part of that program, they were like, you get like an internship and everything. But obviously with all the things shut down, I'm like, I'm kind of lost here.
Yeah.
So I kind of just fell into like a construction project management, like position with like a home builder, which I was doing well with it, but it was just like to kill time. Like I'm like, I need to do something. I can't just sit around.
Right.
And then, I just got lucky one day just because my resume, I actually had put in, believe it or not, I knew the Penn coaches over here, and Penn and Drexel work pretty close together with wrestling. So I reached out to Penn because they had an open spot, and they were actually about to fill it though. But I believe their coach Roger, who knew me pretty well, mentioned it to the Drexel coach. So Coach Azevedo gave me a shout, and that's kind of all she wrote. He said you could still pursue your dreams of training alongside the guys, working hard with the guys, but also coaching the guys. But then it gave me an opportunity to not only like coach wrestling, be a part of an awesome program, but then also like pursue this option.
Yeah. And so when did you go down that MMA route?
So it was always something on my mind. Like the seed kind of got planted back in actually at Brown. One of the alumni, Joe Mako, his brother Steve Mako was like a national champ wrestler, big time. He went to Oklahoma State and Iowa. So obviously, huge wrestler. He was a heavyweight. He's just a beast. Like they call him the Bear for a reason. Yeah. So he's actually a big time head coach down in the American Top Team, which is like, biggest gym in the world.
Who trains there? I know Colby used to.
Well, that's kind of leading into, I became actually friends with Colby through all this before the whole gym swap. Like Masvidal, Poirier, Nunes trained out of there. I mean, it's like a who's who. Johnny Eblin's there. He's a Bellator 85 champ. Yeah. There's like a who's who. You can walk down the list.
Exactly.
Actually this guy who in my opinion beat Khabib, if you watch the fight back, Gleason Tebow, he's a Brazilian guy. He took a big liking to me. So I used to go down and train with them because of the connection with the alumni.
Right.
And they used to actually, back when Colby was still with them, Colby would come up to Brown and like wrestle with me and stuff. So like, we never did like MMA per se, but like I would go down, grappling, roll around. Like I would do their grappling classes. So like give them a push with the wrestling feel. And then we would hit pads and stuff. Like I never sparred at that point.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, man, this is cool. Like I'm around these guys. I'm going with these top guys. Like I'm like, oh, I could take this guy down. Like so if I can take him down, I mean, I could maybe figure out the other stuff. I'm pretty athletic. Like, which that's like half like with boxing. It's like if you have the coordination, it's crazy how much stuff like is similar. Like baseball, like with my hips, like swinging the bat, right? It's like still like throwing a punch. It's like I've done so many things with different sports that I think like MMA is kind of made for me because it is like multiple sports.
And the muscle memory's there.
Yeah, and like there's different movements and stuff. So I think like my personal coordination already with different actions, whether it be football, throwing the ball, baseball, hitting a baseball, hand-eye coordination. I think that all plays a role in why I've been doing pretty well with this,
Yeah.
you know, on top of just athletic ability, you know.
Yeah. How long you been training?
So full-time MMA, probably like right before I did the when COVID started. That was the first time I went into Nick Catone MMA in Brick, New Jersey. I'm originally from Jersey, so
Okay.
like that's when I like met Nick, and then COVID happened. So like I was gonna actually start full-time training probably like 2020.
Yeah.
But like once they reopened the gyms, I'd say I kind of been doing full-time MMA training. Probably I guess it's like my first fight was in 21. So I guess the end of 2020, whenever they opened the gyms,
Yeah.
would be like when I probably started. And then like my first amateur fight was right around Memorial Day weekend in 21.
Okay.
And then from there I did the 5 amateur ones and like kind of was training full time at that point. And then you know, now we're here.
So you had a little bit of time under your belt.
Yeah, like that's what's cool. Like I mean, they knew I had a good background with the wrestling. Like I've competed at, you know, NCAA tournaments. And
I mean,
all
you're
that.
wrestling for 4 years
So,
up around. Like you have an idea.
I got a good background, but they still want to see like the you got to move up the ranks. Like, you know, some of these guys can just jump right in, like a Bo Nickel, like he's a national champ, you know, Olympic level wrestler. Like they're not gonna let him go amateur. Basically,
Yeah.
he actually, I think he did have one technical amateur fight, but it's like those type of guys, they kind of let him jump the ranks. Like whereas, yeah, I qualified for nationals 3 times, but I still had to kind of earn my respect a little bit there to make sure I can do it. Which you know, experience is experience. You know, you got to take those amateur fights to really learn. Hey, am I fit for this? Like, can I get in there and get hit in the face? My first fight, end of the second round. Actually, they changed my opponent. This kid, he actually wrestles at Pitt now. He's a heavyweight.
Oh wow.
So that's what I was telling you about weight cutting before, man. Like, I fought 185. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna show up, fight 185. This dude was huge. I stepped in the cage. I'm like, dude, this guy's
big
big.
185.
You know,
I'm
like, so like, the dude came out in my first amateur fight, throws like a kick to like my chest. So I catch it, take him down. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm calm. I'm in my world.
Yeah.
But amateur's weird. Like we have like the first one, you have shin guards on.
Yeah.
You can't punch the guy in the face on the ground.
Yeah.
So just on the ground, it's like a jiu-jitsu match. So like I took him down, rode him, whatever. And then the end of the second period, he hit me with like one punch the whole fight, and I got cut. I'm like, oh dang, like this is legit. You know, with the small gloves, it's different. And so like the whole third round, I always got like this one picture that's sick. Like I'm like covered and like I'm winning the fight. Like I took the kid down all 3 rounds, finished on top. But just the one punch got through. But it's like, hey, that was a good test. Like now I know what it's like to see your own blood a little bit, and it's like, if anything, it motivates you a little bit more. Cause like, he just you know, got a piece of me. I gotta move around. You know.
Yeah. See, did you get motivated when you had that? Like when you got that first punch? Like, cause obviously, like it triggers your fight or flight. You're like, oh, either I'm not built for this or built for this. Is that the moment you felt like I actually really want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, that's funny. Yeah, you really want to do this. Some guys, people think I'm crazy to say that, but it's like, I guess it like builds your confidence in a way where it's like, I can trade back and forth and like, you know, a little bit. I mean, that's the hardest thing. Like even I was saying to somebody, I'm like, how do you test your chin? Like you don't want to just go out there and get knocked out in practice. Like that doesn't help anybody, but it's like, also you want to know that you could take a couple shots and be okay. So it's like every time, like that's what was good about those amateur fights. Every time you got kind of hit a little bit, it's like, okay, I can trade a couple here and there, like take one to give 2, you know, kind of thing. It's like, so I don't have to just be a wrestler or whatever, you know, I have decent hands, you know, like I started to get more comfortable in there. Like even my last amateur fight, which is back at 2300, the same arena. My next fight's going to be at, which is like, I fought there twice now, but it just feels like home. Like once you're like comfortable in a place.
February 9th.
Yeah. So like that last amateur fight, like the kid was actually, that was probably the most striking I've done because the kid was a really good, actually like a jiu-jitsu guy. He was long, kind of tall. Like I still took him down, but I was a little cautious on top. Like I knew he was going to try to throw up triangles or different submissions. So like I wasn't fully committing to like the grappling. I took him down, controlled him a little bit, landed some strikes. But at the same time, I was like, oh, if he threw something up, I was just going to clear him, kind of back out. So we were on our feet probably more than any of my other amateur ones. Yeah. And but like we traded, like there was one I called it like a Rocky 3 punch. Like at the end when him and Apollo are going, like I threw a left hook, he threw a left hook, and we kind of hit each other. And it's like, oh, I guess I can take these punches a little bit, you know. So it's like everything builds your confidence, and it's like once you're in there, it's like it's so nervous, like a roller coaster, like the lead up, the walk out. Then it's like, all right, I'm in here, let's do it. You know, it's like, and like even that fight, so 2300. I mean, like I don't know if it's a tradition, but I got cut in that fight too. In the first round, I like took a shot. He caught me like a short uppercut, so I had like a couple stitches I had to get underneath the eye. And like again, you see your own blood, you're like, let's go. Like I gotta pick it up. Like actually, it just triggers something in you. Like you said, fight or flight.
That primal instinct kicks in. So what's your preparation been like for this fight? Because it's your third professional fight. Excuse me.
Yeah. So you know, every fight's a little different. You know, you obviously want to know what the guy's background is a little bit, but at the same time, you don't want to change your game plan, you know. But preparation-wise, it's pretty much the same. You know, I'm a little, I wouldn't say all over the place, but I train at a couple different spots just because, like, we're in wrestling season now with Drexel. So, like, a lot of my grappling is more wrestling-based just to get that cardio push and just, you know, work my takedowns. So, like, my takedowns are pretty much where they need to be, if not better, because whenever I'm in season, I train with the kids all day. You know, we have a, you know, tough 184, tough 197 pounder, who's, you know, doing really well. Even our 74 pounder is tough. So, like, all those guys in that, like, 165 to 197. Sometimes I'll even grab the heavyweights, you know.
Yeah.
They're tough, you know, college level D1 wrestlers. So it's like there's plenty of bodies for me to work. You know, we're helping each other get better. We're pushing each other. And so that's my main, like, grappling, even though I do, like, jiu-jitsu two nights a week usually.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, striking wise, you know, I try to spar at least 2 nights a week. Usually it's Thursday night. I go to the Freehold at Dante Rivera's. So Dante, his guys, he's got a couple studs that are like CFFC level. Luke Fernandez is actually the champ at 205 now at CFFC. So it's
nice.
like we're all kind of, I mean, Luke's a little ahead of me. This kid, Eric Nolan, Nick Galante is at 185. So, like, we all kind of work together and we're all kind of at that same point. Like, Nick just had his first pro fight. I'm like in my second. Here comes my third. Eric probably has like 5 and Luke's at like 3. So it's like we're all like new pros.
Right.
So it's kind of cool to work up with those guys. I actually wrestled with like Luke growing up, like back in high school even. So it's like it's cool to see like that Jersey wrestling still coming up together. And then actually Corey Anderson's coming back. He trains at Nick Catone's.
Okay.
He fights Bellator. He's a 205.
Yeah.
So he'll be back this week. So like tonight, hitting up Corey. Corey will be at Nick's. You know, we'll do like we do like an MMA. We call it like just like I would call it just MMA practice. So we start out. It's like combos and stuff, more on their feet. Like coach will be calling out, hey, you know, 1, 2, 3, whatever combo. Like go back and forth, trade ones, and then like we'll get into some wall work. So like we kind of transition to like grappling, and then like at the end we'll do some like live, not like MMA sparring rounds, but more like live grappling, and then like couple other nights are like similar to that, where it's like more like MMA drills. Like Wednesday night, I actually go to Marquez, which is in Philly here sometimes. So, you know, John's been letting me work in with those guys when I have a fight coming up. So we all kind of help each other. You know, Sean's been actually a big help for me. I know he's been all around. He's coming up March 30th. He fights in,
Brady's the real deal,
he's
man.
fighting in AC, which is gonna be sick. You know, back in Boardwalk Hall, which has always like been a dream of mine eventually. So like, you know, Boardwalk Hall's got a special place in my heart with States, with wrestling in New Jersey in high school. But, so I'm a little all over. You know, I train on a lot of spots, but you get a lot of different looks. And, you know, the main thing is, like, at the end of the day, it's like I don't really try to change too much. You know, I know what I'm good at, and I just got to be ready to let it fly and just, like, don't hold back. Like, sometimes you go in there, like, if you're hesitant, you're going to struggle. So, like, you just got to go in there and just leave it all out there and just empty the gas tank. And it's 3 5-minute rounds. You got to be ready to go 3 5-minute rounds, but – you know, like I want to push the pace, and just that's my big thing is pace, pace. You know, if I can take the guy down, wear on him, that's my goal.
Yeah, and since you started your MMA endeavor, that mental strain or the mentality that goes into it, is there anything that you've like learned about yourself or picked up on since that? Because you're training every day, collaborating with other fighters, like you said, training at different gyms, preparing for these fights, and like what kind of mentality have you gained since your MMA endeavor, since you really started going into this full time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to go in there and have to, you know, go to war with another guy. But at the end of the day, you got to remember it's just like you're training the same way this guy's training, and you know, you just got to, like you said, like you got to believe in yourself the most. You know, sometimes, believe it or not, like my last fight, like I had, not that I had doubt in my mind, like I was 100% confident in my mind, but like I let like some outside forces kind of influence me a little bit. Like I got caught early in the fight. And like that kind of rattled me. The fight was in Tampa, Florida. That was the first time I had to travel while cutting weight. So like, you know, this one I'm back at home. I'm comfortable. I'm in my world. You know, I'm training local. You know, all my people are going to be there. So that's always a big supporter, you know, big, you know, thing that helps motivate me. I'm a people person. Like I'm like close with I'm loyal to my team and everything. So like knowing that they're all going to be there, you know, I basically like have like a group that Matt Black Kia is actually like my biggest sponsor. They my best friend, like he's basically a brother to me. You know, he's bringing everybody. Like they have like 4 tables. They ended up buying.
That's
I'm
hype.
like, like knowing that they're there, like I always joke, like 'cause they flew down to Florida too, but like a smaller group.
Yeah.
But like knowing I have that backing and it's in our home, that always makes you feel a little more comfortable. And like mentality wise, I try not to change the mentality too much, even with like wrestling. It's like you go out there, you got to give a perfect effort and control the controllables kind of thing. I know it sounds cliche, but it's like
it's very true.
You can't know what the other guy's going to do.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, you got to push the pace and leave it all in the cage or on, like in wrestling. Like I always like try to leave it all on the mat. And like those matches and those fights where I just gave my full effort, good things happened.
And
that's that same. It's the same thing in life. Whatever. If you want to get like deep into like thought, it's like you just got to give 100% in every area. And I hope that good things happen. If you just keep pushing, eventually you'll get that breakthrough.
Yeah, and that preparation's huge.
Yeah.
You've been so walk me through your weekly schedule, because I know getting you here was a bit tough because you are all over the place. You are working your ass off for this upcoming fight. So what's your schedule like for the people who are watching who maybe are thinking about doing MMA or because I love it. Like I don't train, but I love it. I love watching it, and I always get so. That's why I also wanted to have you on too. I'm so curious about people's routines and mentalities because it's such a primal sport. So I'm so curious about what's your weekly routine like.
So right now, like I said, since we're in wrestling season, that's what's hard. Like I'll just start with this. It's hard. Like MMA is a tough sport because like it's not like football where you just get a signing bonus and you're like, all right, I'm just focused on football. Like MMA, like a lot of these regional level guys or amateur guys, you got to work full time too, right? And so I'm blessed that my full time job is wrestling, coaching wrestling. Which there's a lot more behind the scenes stuff that does go into that, but one of my main responsibilities is practicing with the guys, pushing the guys. So I built that into my schedule. So like this week was a little different because we had matches this weekend. So Monday, like I went in the office this morning, we did some stuff, talked about some stuff, but usually Monday we'll do like a lift and drill in the morning with the guys. So I kind of try to either wrestle with the guys or I'll get my lift in a little bit with the team. And then I do like office stuff all day. And then Monday nights is like that main MMA practice back in Bricks. I go to Jersey. I drive far, but it's like Nick's my coach and he's been my coach since day one. So, he's always been there for me. Like Frankie Edgar actually trains out of that gym. He just made the Hall of Fame. Little shout out for Frankie Edgar. So like Corey's coming back. So like when everybody's in at our gym, it's kicking, man. And so nice. That's always been home. Jersey's been home. So like Nick's my home base. And then Tuesdays, we do hard wrestling with the wrestling team at Drexel. So I usually jump in with the guys. I'll wrestle, do my work during the day. Tuesday night depends on the week. I'll try to either if I can go back to Nick's and make the drive. I'll do like a boxing practice with them, and then I'll hit some pads after or do some boxing sparring. Kind of something a little lighter, not quite MMA sparring with the full like takedowns and stuff, but do something to get my eyes working, get my combos going.
Yeah.
Wednesday is kind of like a hybrid day. A lot of times I try to get my lift myself with the team if it's a normal schedule. Like we lift on Wednesdays, so I'll lift with them, work during the day. Wednesday night, I try to go over to Marquez when I can. They do like MMA drills, more striking drills, which is really good for me because like I got the grappling base, but I need to keep adding that striking. Thursday depends, I guess, like I said, about the week, but same thing. We got wrestling practice. So a lot of my grappling is wrestling dominated because of the season. So that's my priority first. I got to give Drexel my first, and then I got to do my stuff at night most of the time, my main stuff. So Thursday, same thing. We'll drill, wrestle. Thursday night usually it's like a harder spar day for me. Like I try to go to Dante's and Freehold, and if not, like last week I went to my gym back in Brick. So we just grabbed a couple guys, did like 4 or 5 like MMA rounds, 4 or 5 minute rounds, and just did like MMA, and then like kind of finished with some cardio. Yeah. Friday's more laid back for me because we usually spar again Saturday morning. So like Friday I'll try to just run, just hit some. I mean, when it's nice out, I love doing road work. Rocky Steps is like my home, so I run from. I'm in Northern Liberties here. I usually run. It's about 3 miles to the steps. So like, I play like the soundtrack. I'm cheesy as hell. I got to do it.
Whatever you got to do to motivate yourself.
Dude, it's like when you get there, it's like I feel peace when I get to those steps. Right. Like this is how like you grow up watching those movies, and now I'm kind of like trying to live it a little bit. I'm Italian. I got to live it a little bit. But Friday's kind of more of like I'll do cardio. Maybe I'll get a lift in. If not, like now as we're getting closer, it's gonna like Friday will be 2 weeks out, so it'll be more just running. Yeah. If I do lift anything, it's more high reps, high volume, just to like get a sweat going. Yeah. Because as we start getting into that, that's a whole process in itself, the cutting weight and all that. And then Saturday's usually hard spar in the morning, and then like afternoon, if I have some energy, I'll do some extra cardio. And then Sunday, if we'll have like this Sunday, we wrestle Bucknell at home. So thank God we're home. We don't have to travel.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the traveling's a little tough. Like the week before, our trip was crazy. We like drove up to Binghamton, New York on a Friday, wrestled them Saturday, and then drove to West Point at the Army Academy on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And then came back to Philly. Then we're back training on Monday. So it's like, I have to fit it in with the wrestling schedule. But these next few weeks are closer to home. So it's going to be a lot better.
Nice, yeah.
And then actually right after the fight, I'm going to fight Friday. And then they're actually leaving on a bus trip, but the next morning, my parents and I'm going to meet the team up there. We're actually wrestling Brown, which is always fun.
Oh, yeah?
So when you go back to home, it's like, I hope my picture's still on the wall kind of thing,
Yeah.
But, they got a new coaching staff there, but it's like, it's still cool to go back home.
Yeah,
and like,
absolutely.
hey, this is like where, it's fun with the kids, like especially when the picture's on the wall, they make fun of me because I got like, this like emo haircut. I'm like, they picked the worst picture. I'm like, dang, I'm going to get roasted. I know it's going to happen.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So you have a special relationship with those kids, huh?
Oh yeah, that's the biggest thing about wrestling. I mean, it was cool. Like I got to experience all three sports at the college level, but wrestling has this intimate connection, and you really get to build bonds and relationships that last a lifetime. Actually, last year was a really special year. So I had a kid who I actually wrestled in college. I wrestled at Brown, like we said, and this kid originally wrestled at Columbia University. So the Ivies always wrestle each other every year. So my senior year, we wrestled. He was a sophomore, and then with the COVID stuff, like I was only like 2 years removed at that point when I was coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I got him to transfer in because he was able to have an extra year, but he couldn't stay at Columbia. He had already graduated,
Right.
And the Ivy League doesn't allow grad students to compete in sports. So I'm like, yo, Brian, you got a little more in the tank kind of thing. And he's like, he knew a lot of the guys on the team, like Drexel, a lot of Jersey guys, a lot of PA guys. So he knew a lot of the kids. So I had Brian come, and Brian actually, he was always on the cusp, but never quite made the NCAA tournament. So we brought him in, I knew the kid worked hard. I knew he was a stubborn wrestler. Like I beat him in overtime because I just couldn't take him down. I got in on his leg like 3 times, and I'm like, this kid's finding a way out of bounds. He's finding a way to scramble. He's getting stalemates. So like I knew him pretty well. Like we wrestled a lot, whatever. He's a Jersey kid, and I get Brian to come, and Brian ends up making a run, and it's cool because I'm a coach, right? Like I don't look at it as like I'm a coach and he's an athlete because I was only at the time like 25, turning 26, and he's 24. So it's like we're boys. So we're training partners.
Exactly.
I am your coach technically, but like in my eyes, we're training partners. Especially like now I'm feeling the coach thing a little more because we got some younger guys that are like 18, 19, and I'm like a little more separated age gap. Yeah. But with him specifically, like he ended up making a run. We call it the round of 12. It's 1 round away from placing. So he makes the national tournament. And then he goes out there. He takes out the top 8. I think the kid was a 7 or 8 seed. He beats the 8 seed, first match. He ends up losing his second match, but he makes a run through the backside of the tournament to the round of 12. And like that run with Brian and just being with him all year and being able to wrestle him, being in his corner, being just like the biggest thing with wrestling is like when you're comfortable with somebody in your corner and believe in them, it's not necessarily the technique that's going to make you better. It's just somebody has a belief in you and just pushes your buttons the right way. Like I had the same thing. I had a kid, Sal Mastriani, All-American from Virginia Tech. He coached at Brown only for 1 year, but that season was my best season because he, was a Jersey kid. He vibed with me. He gave me good energy. And that's something with wrestling specific that I think you don't realize how much the coaches can control just by being like, a close person to you. Like it's not even about technique. It's not about the practices necessarily. Yeah. It's just about the time spent with the kid. Like we're going on these trips and like even like, flying on the airplane, we're making jokes, we're relaxed, we're feeling good. And keeping that positivity up, you don't realize the power of that. And that's what's cool with wrestling, the intimacy of like the one-on-one, like no other sport. Like if I'm a football coach, I'm not putting on pads and I'm not going to go tackle the kids in like, whatever you want to call it, Oklahoma drills or whatever. Like I'm actually putting my body on the line just as much as the kids. Like we're getting in there, we're scrapping each other up. Like I'm not taking it easy on them. I'm trying to take you down. I'm not gonna, I'm a coach. I'm supposed to take you down.
Exactly.
And when they take me down, I'm like, I go, I didn't let you take me down. Like you took me down. Like you got to believe that. So like, that's what's cool about wrestling. It's like no other sport is a coach getting in there, putting on sweatpants and saying, let's scrap in a hot room for 2 hours, which is cool. It's a special relationship there.
Do you find that was ultimately and still is ultimately what helps you the most? Because a relationship with your coach is so important, but do you find it being someone that believes in you that ultimately does help you get through a lot of the struggles and tribulations you do have when you're, consistently training?
Yeah, I mean, that's always been something for me growing up. Like I said, at the end of the day, I always joke about myself. Like, I have good wrestling technique and stuff, like, especially when we're just talking strictly wrestling. But, I mean, I was always pretty athletic. And at the end of the day, the one thing that would hold me back is if I would, like, mentally kind of check out or, just have a little doubt. And, like, even, like, my high school, going back to high school, we talked about states. Boardwalk Hall is where states is. So, my senior year, we made a run to the state finals. And I made that run just because I had a specific coaches in my corner and they believed in me and they took the time to, cater to whatever I needed. And, like I've always been a guy who fed off of belief and positivity. And, sometimes I do need a guy that's going to, kick me in the ass, but it's got to be a guy that I trust. You know, if you build that trust, you can yell at that kid a little bit to get that extra 1% out of him. And, it's only because he has the trust in you, and that's what, like, even like Brian, like we would do like some circuits or whatever, or do like some extra overtime rounds in like wrestling after our live. And it's like, he's going to do it because he believes in me and he knows I've done something similar beforehand too. Like, so like sharing that experience and, trust is a really important thing. But like, you need a motivator sometimes. I need a guy in my corner that's going to go, yo, pick it the hell up, like when I need to. But I also know he's a guy that after the fight or whatever, we're relaxing in the back, it's like mad chill at the same time.
Yeah. And you have obviously played football, you've done a lot, you play a lot of sports, lacrosse and everything. Everyone always has athletes they look up to or inspirations they look up to. Do you have anyone specific that not even just in sports but just in life? Do you have anyone that you look up to that inspires you and motivates you to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, like if we're going back to just strictly sports, I mean, I always looked up to like a Bo Jackson and like those multi-sport athletes.
Oh yeah, he's a stud.
I mean, I feel like obviously he had injuries in football, but like that was always like my dream growing up. Like even like when I got athlete of the year or whatever in high school, I wanted to take like a picture like Bo Jackson with the baseball bat and then shoulder pads. So like he was always like an inspiration growing up, but I get a lot of it, honestly, from my dad. I know it sounds like, people are like, oh, well, my dad motivates me. But you know what? He's the one who originally instilled the work ethic in me. Like he growing up, like he was always like getting us in the weight room, getting us doing the right things. He always like, at the end of the day, if you work hard, good things will happen. And, he's always done that in his life. He works his ass off. He's a grinder. And, even if it's not necessarily like he's playing a pro sport or whatever, you can take notes from that and, watching that growing up and somebody like that who just, puts the time in and day out to provide for people that are important to him. Yeah. That's the same thing that I'm trying to do is, put in the time. Yeah, maybe it's more in athletics, but I got to work my ass off so one day I can provide for people that are important
awesome.
To me,
That's really cool. Shout out to your dad, man. Yeah. And Bo Jackson. Do you, and so I'll try to find, and I tried to ask superlative questions, but like trying to pick your brain, like, do you have goals that you're working towards right now?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously the goal is to be able to, it's hard. It's like I love coaching. Number one, like I genuinely have a passion for like especially our team. Like these are my guys, so it's like I want to keep doing the coaching and pushing the kids, and it's like like I said, there's a bond about that. There's an adventure about it. We get to travel. We get to do a lot of cool things. With Drexel alone, like without the fighting, like just coaching it's been a ride so far. I've been doing it for 3 years and I don't plan on, stopping for as long as I can. But, obviously like I just dream of just, using this sport and this platform of MMA. And I'm crazy. I always joke with people, like I was writing like there's a couple like guys that I was talking about, like they're, I don't have an official manager yet, but I've been talking to some people about the idea of like eventually as you get bigger in this, you need somebody to help you, guide you.
It's the bandwidth. It's
you need that. And then even like when it comes to like the big contracts, like right now I'm like my contracts are one fight deals, like CFFCs, like all right, whatever, X, you make X for showing, X for fighting, and then you get ticket bonus and whatever. So it's like it's not like a big contract that's really confusing. It's pretty straightforward. But as you get to like UFC level or like even PFL now is big. Like you need somebody to help, like
absolutely
vet all that. And so I was even joking with them, like, hey, you got opportunities to try out for other sports. Here's my resume. I know, I know I sound nuts, but it's like I just always wanted an opportunity, and that's kind of what led me to this sport. I always say it's because you set your own destiny, kind of thing. Yeah, that's one thing that did frustrate me a little bit. Like even with like the football at Sacred Heart, I think I did really well. I pushed it. I gave 1,000% every day, but it was hard coming in the summer, learning a new program learning a new set of defense, like a college level defense. In high school, we're just reading the guards and running. And then like here, now there's like plays on defense and stuff. And it's like, I felt like I wish I had more of an opportunity to really show what I can do in football.
Yeah.
But obviously that's like a long shot kind of thing. But I was joking with him, like, hey, you get any tryouts? I'll go run a 40 for you. I could still run a 4.4,
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think I'm more athletic now, but my biggest goals are like, this is my biggest shot to make it in this game and in this professional sports lifestyle. And like I said, I control my destiny, so I just got to keep winning one fight at a time. Get back on track first. With that last fight, and I want to make it in this realm. I think that's my ultimate goal. And whether it's UFC, Bellator got absorbed by PFL, so I still don't know how that works because it looks like they're keeping both names, but it's whatever outlet it is, even if it's ONE FC, whatever. I just want to be able to support myself and support the people I care about through doing this, through a passion, through
that's
something
awesome.
I love,
And
that's the ultimate goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the beauty about I feel like a sport like this is that you do control your own destiny. It's the biggest gamble, but it's also the biggest payoff. There's not really much of a ceiling, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and
I mean, like at the end of the day, you get your hand raised in there. It's uncomparable. Like the feeling and the rush and the adrenaline. I mean, I've been through a lot of emotions with a lot of these fights. Like even like before my pro debut, I lost a really close friend of mine, and she was a fighter too, and like still getting my hand raised like in her honor and just getting my hand raised in general. It's just like the biggest feeling of like I don't even like what the word is. What's the serotonin or whatever the what do they call that? Adrenaline, everything, all that stuff. Like it hits you at once, and it's like you like just like relief. Energy, it's just the craziest feeling. And like after you win a fight, you just want to run around and high five like everybody in the arena. And it's cool. Like my pro debut was in Atlantic City, which like I actually like one of the reporters that I was talking to, like I'm originally from Little Egg Harbor. I'm close to Atlantic City. So like when I run my road work in the summer and I'm more at home, like by my parents' house, checking out by the beach and stuff, I run, and my end of my run, I face Atlantic City. So like my pro debut, it's like I run it. That's my Rocky steps, basically. I run to the end of the bay and see Atlantic City, and it's like that's my goal. That was cool in my first fight, and to be able to do it in Atlantic City in my pro debut and get my hand raised, it was like just such a rush. It's like, hey, that was like a first milestone to hit, and now I gotta go hit this next milestone and keep getting my hand raised again. And but yeah, it's just super exciting, to go in there and like you said, it's one-on-one, and I think that's why when you win, even though you have an army behind you and all these supporters, at the end of the day, I got to get locked in the cage.
Right.
It's my choice to go in there, and there's one other man with you. So first of all, anybody who makes the walk, I don't care if you're 0-10 or 10-0, you got some guts on you, and you're really going to put it on the line, and you're putting yourself out there. Like it's you and another person, and like that's what's crazy. So when you get that hand raised, it's just a next out of body experience. Yeah.
Is there anyone you fight for?
I mean, I always just like, I'm a big family guy, at the end of the day, when I go in there, I'm fighting for obviously myself. I fight for my coaches, but I fight for my family. They gave me the opportunities, to do this sport, even like they still help, with different things here and there with buying tickets and all that stuff. And even like, I go home a lot. Like I said, my gym's back at home. Like I'll stop at home, mom make me food and stuff, you know? And even like this whole journey of sports in general, like they've driven me to X, Y, and Z. You name the place. Our vacation was baseball camp. Like our vacation was football. Our vacation was going to Navy for wrestling camp. Like, so it's like, it's all for us, my dad always said like, hey, the most important people are under this roof. And like, that's not a lie, that's how I was raised. And, that's like, I always fight for them. And then obviously always for my supporters. And then, I got to remember to fight for myself sometimes, but I like to fight for them for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You ever check in with yourself? I know, cause like I said, I know that life can go really fast, and especially with your growth and how much you've been doing lately, it's like, life can come at you really fast. But do you ever check in with yourself? Do you ever see how far you've come?
Yeah, sometimes you catch yourself like going through like old pictures. A lot of times I do it on flights. Like if I'm on a plane, it's like I start going through like that's what's crazy about phones and stuff now. Like you don't got a picture book like when you're back in like your mom. I feel bad for kids. Like I hope like kids like in the future, like I hope their parents print out books and stuff, because like that's like something that I feel like I don't want to die. Like
so
if
much
I have,
nostalgia.
like if
in
I have
that.
kids
Yeah.
someday, like my brother just had my nephew, DJ, you call him, so he's Dom Jr.
Oh, congrats.
And they kind of did the J because I'm CJ, like too,
Yeah,
like a little
yeah.
homage to me, but also it's
Yeah.
his name, so that was pretty sick. So it's like, I think they're the type of people that I know they're gonna like make sure they print out and make those
Yep.
books, because like
Yeah.
when you grow up, that's a fun thing to rip
Yeah.
through. Like you're at grandma's house or whatever, she
Yep.
pulls out the old photo book,
Yep.
and you're like, oh shit, look at dad when he was
Yeah.
25, But yeah, like a lot of times it's on the phone. You start going through like your old posts or Instagram or something. That's at least it's all documented a little bit, But I try to remember a lot of the things I do, but it's like you forget. You're right. You do forget quick, like because things do just move fast. Like I got to remember that I have accomplished a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I
Yeah.
have a lot of things that I still need to get done at the same time,
For
which is
sure.
hard. But it's
Yeah.
like it is nice to go back and just kind of like take a second and be like, man, this has been a journey so far, and it's been a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I find looking back as fuel, because I remember last September, like my schedule last September as a DJ, and then now this September as a DJ, like how quick 1 year can change. And it's like I always find it as like more fuel to look back and to see like the growth, because when you're, like I said, if you're not adapting, you're not changing, you're not growing, you're not getting better. So I always enjoy looking back, and and the nostalgia is a huge thing for me. Like I'll go on like Twitter or TikTok. I remember like, I don't know if you've seen it, but like when it would say what Christmas used to be like, and it was like the school bus that you swipe. It's like the classroom with the crafts. Like how like nostalgia is is how crazy it can hit and how crazy it can feel.
Yeah.
I'm a big nostalgia person. Is there a moment you can look back on and like, whether in your childhood or growing up, that like was that ultimately think led you to where you're at today? Is there any life changing moments or anything you've been through that really altered the way your life kind of went?
I mean, that's what's crazy. Like ever since I was little, I said like I always followed my brother. Like I know I fight for family. I said my dad motivated. I can add that. Another person that I look up to the most is my brother. He's like so he's 3.5 years older. So it's like he's just close enough that like we were able to share like high school together, which is cool. And honestly, I think a lot of the reason I am what I am is because I followed his lead. I can honestly, it's messed up to say this, but the mistakes he made sometimes in like sports or something, like I can follow that and be like, all right, don't do that.
It's the beauty of being the youngest. youngest.
But at the same time, it's like he accomplished so much. Like he played football at Albany, Division I football.
Nice.
He started. He was a center and a guard for them. So. He was the lineman of the family,
he's a
which
big
is
boy.
funny. He's the big dog.
Yeah.
And then I was like the running. My dad, he's the lineman, he's the running back, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so, like I followed his lead a lot. Like even growing up, a lot of the things that he did influenced what I did. He was like the first person in our family to start even doing wrestling. We weren't a wrestling family. Like my dad was football, like basketball in high school. He did baseball too, but wrestling was new to us. Like it's actually now it's a big part of our lives, obviously, but it's like once you get into that cult of wrestling, it's crazy. But
I can imagine, man.
It gets pretty wild. But so like I think like just doing stuff with him, I think like kind of led me to where I am today, kind of thing.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
Again, going back to family's a big influencer for me, and like I think for me too, like in terms of like wrestling and like these kind of combat sports, my junior and senior year of high school was a turning point for me. I went into high school. I actually transferred high schools. I was at Holy Spirit High School in Jersey, and then I went to the rival.
Okay.
I was the quarterback and then transferred to the rival after we lost to him because like a coach. We got a new coach at Holy Spirit, and the guy was just let's just say he was rough. I don't want to like bash anybody on mic, but like a lot of people had issues with this guy.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving because I felt like I was just being berated by this dude. Like I'm the starting quarterback, and you're not even like listening to what I'm saying too.
Right.
It's got to be a two-way street,
Right.
So I ended up going to St. Joe, had a great experience. But that freshman year, I got to play with my brother. Like he was the center, I was the backup quarterback. But there were some times where I was the quarterback and he was the center, and there were some awkward exchanges. It's like I'm putting my hands up under my brother here. So like we struggled with that at first, but we figured it out obviously. But I ended up. Football again was a dominant thing for me, but then junior and senior year, I really turned the corner in wrestling, and that was again because my coach, this one guy Billy Damiana, he was actually coached at Lower Cape May now. He really influenced the way I look at these sports and how it's like hard work does make a difference in these sports, and you can see the work you put in is reflected in your success. So my junior year was the first time I qualified for states at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. Like as a sophomore, I didn't even believe I can do it. So I qualified for states junior year. I placed 7th, which was like,
that's impressive.
I was
That's
pretty
awesome.
happy with that, but
Right.
I'm like, man, like because I did that, like what can we do next? And then like my senior year of high school, dude, I had a crazy record. Like it was like 40 something and 2. And the only 2 people I lost to was in the state finals I lost, which sucks. Like that kills me. It still eats me to today. And I lost to, actually my assistant coach at Drexel, and his younger brother wrestled a weight class above me. I bumped up to wrestle him. He was a state finalist as well.
Oh, wow.
So I lost to this kid, Matt Carenti. So like my only 2 losses were state finalists, which was pretty cool. But it was like to see the improvement that I can make just by believing in myself, working hard, and just like having somebody that believed in me as well.
Yeah.
Like I think was the biggest thing. Like, and
That's
then it's
awesome.
like, I think that was where I turned a corner. Like sometimes when you talk about nostalgia, when I'm struggling through stuff, I always say like, yo, where's that kid? He's in there. Like, cause I really had a great tournament, that state tournament. I know I took 2nd in the finals, but I wrestled in my eyes a perfect match. Like I did all the thing. I got out on bottom. The kid was really good on top. Like he held everybody down. He was turning kids, getting back points. I got out on him, like I got in on my shots. I just ended up falling short. But that was what I like to say to our kids. It's like, maybe my result wasn't perfect, but it was perfect effort.
Yeah.
Like, and I always try to say to myself, it's like, find that kid when I'm really struggling. Because I know he's in there. Like, sometimes there's days where it's not in, like, I feel like I don't have it. It's like, I got to find that kid.
Yeah.
That 17-year-old in high school was a dog, and it's like, it's still in there. It didn't leave.
Yeah.
Just some days you lose it a little bit. You get sidetracked on so many things going on that like you got to like be like, let me go back and find that guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the importance of having support too. Having your supports, they help inadvertently help you find that. Because there's always that. You always find there's like that prime version of yourself. And the crazy part is that sometimes you may not realize you haven't found it yet. Because you can say, okay, when I was 17 and I was fighting in the state final, I go against state finalists, like I felt like that was the best version of myself. But when you put the effort in like yourself and you find it, you realize that was only the beginning of that. That final form is still on the way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people forget that. Like you look at the people who reflect on high school, who they were in high school and how maybe things haven't gone the way they thought. But at the end of the day, once you realize that maybe is that's only the beginning of who your final version is. Your final version could be you in the UFC or PFL or whatever. It's like that final version's still going to be there. It's just a matter of putting that effort in and realizing that your time's going to come at a different time.
Yeah.
And everyone's timing is different. Like look at someone like Sean Brady, who's 31 years old, and he was on Joe Rogan, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
But he's seeing that piece of success, and you're 26 years old, bro. Like you are so young. And you go 5 more years in this sport, bro, and with the connections you have and the collaborations you're already making and the effort you're already putting in, I wouldn't sponsor just anybody. Like I've seen what we've been doing and like just how your career has been so far, and like that's something that I want to personally and invest in to help you succeed. So it's like I see what you've been doing, and bro, like you have so much going for you, and you have such a long road ahead that I'm super excited. We're all gonna be at the fight to support you on February 9th. I don't even know who you're fighting. The kid's just a chump. But so when you're speaking to the young wrestlers, or friends, family, people you're at the gym with, is there any kind of like final advice or anything you've picked up along your journey that really truly helps you get through, whether it's a training camp or through a tough time, or is there anything you always fall back on?
Yeah, I mean, like if we're going like especially with young wrestlers, it's like try to stay in the moment. Like I know it's so easy to like even like I felt my phone buzz 3 times here and now, right? Like we're in this conversation. That's the best thing about these podcasts is like you're on the thing. You're not gonna be distracted. It's like we're talking and we're getting to know each other. We're building this story, And it's like sometimes in practice, it's like you got to remind yourself, hey, this is 2 hours. Like I got to lock in for these 2 hours. Let's maximize these 2 hours. Let's not just check the box and. Hey, I went to practice today, but I didn't really get the most out of it. Because you're going to have good days and bad days, but you can always take something away from either or. Like there's days like we were talking about Sean. I go in there, I get my ass kicked by Sean.
Yeah.
And I'm a good wrestler. And that's what blows my mind when he said the first time he came to Drexel to wrestle, he goes, I've never been in a real wrestling practice. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like you're taking down these dudes in the highest level. You're taking, our guys down. It's like, you're lying. Like I wanted to
Yeah.
say, but like it's like you got to go in there and just give full effort. I know it's like cliche, but you got to give full effort. You got to just try to be mentally locked in for whatever it is, the hour and a half, the 2 hours. And I always say, like, especially if we were talking about like wrestling or sports, like sport in general, everything that you learn from like different coaches might not work for you, but you got to take what works the best for yourself. Like my best takedown, arguably, in college, it was either an outside single or a high crotch, right? I'm really good at that because of my athletic build and whatever reasons why, right? But like just because I'm good at that doesn't mean Cody Walsh, our 165, is going to be able to hit that move. He's got a different body style, and I think that's the biggest thing is like taking these pieces, these little nuggets from every coach, and just building your own plan off of them. I think that's the most important thing, and then just always giving full effort. That's something we always got to just remind ourselves sometimes. It's like, I'm not just here for the 2 hours. I got to give my best effort. Even if I'm sick that day, it's like I show up a little sick, a little tired. It's like, yeah, you might not perform the best, but you gave everything you got for that day. And then those little things will add up.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
TJ, we're super excited for your fight. February 9th at the what's the arena called?
2300 Arena.
2300
South
Arena?
Philly over there by Tony Luke's.
So what time does the event start?
Yeah, I think the doors open at 7 and it might start at 8. I'll double confirm it. I always get confused because the different cards, like there's some amateur fights on these ones, like the Philly ones, they'll do a couple amateur fights early on. So you might see some people with shin guards on in the first one, so don't get confused.
Yeah.
That's the right event. But yeah, like they'll build it up, and I don't know if they released the actual card yet, but I think I'm towards like the later, like the main event rounds might start actually not until 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'll be on the main, which it should be on UFC Fight Pass. If not, check me out on OnlyFans because that's where the last fight was on.
Oh,
there,
really?
the lower ones.
Oh shit!
I was laughing so hard. My first pro fight, because I wasn't on the top main card, which is on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah.
They were like, yo, you're streamed on OnlyFans. I'm like, dang, people are gonna be thinking I'm like, I'm selling crazy pictures too. I'm like, nah, like, just watch the fight. Don't watch anything else.
That's funny.
But yeah, CFFC has a sponsorship with them, so like they, a lot of the low, like the prelims are all on like OnlyFans.
That's how. That's exciting, man.
But hey, it's cool.
I'm looking forward to being there and seeing you and watching you win. I don't like the ads predictions. I just feel like I want to see you go in there and just do your thing. I try. I feel like there's a lot of good energy around this fight, and I telling my friends about it, telling like obviously the girls, Chris and Malik about it. We're all gonna be there to support you, so we're really excited, looking forward to it.
I love it. I can't wait. And I'll just add, I got I got the link in my bio on Instagram for my t-shirts.
Yeah, where can you find you on Instagram?
It's CJ_Lafragola. So pretty straight up. I got a link in my bio. You can order. It's only 3.5 days left on the shirts. So I don't know if we'll put it out there for you. And I know they're Kelly Green. I'm still repping the Kelly Green kit.
Yeah.
I know our boys, didn't get it done, but we always ride. We always ride with the Eagles. We're in Philly. I got my Eagles drip. I was hoping they would be in the Super Bowl the next week, the Sunday after. That was my whole plan.
Yeah.
But, I still ride with them. T-shirts and tickets are still on sale. CFFC.tv. You can get them online.
Yeah.
And if you put my name down at checkout, I get a little cut of that. So I appreciate all the support.
Yeah, they'll. So this will be out the week of the fight. So the February
tickets will still be on sale.
Yeah,
and then the shirts and stuff. Yeah. I could always probably do a secondary order if we have to.
Yeah, sweet. Hell yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Loft. I'm Kevin Nichols. That's CJ Lafragola. Peace, guys. Peace. That was good.
Thanks, bro.
That was awesome, man.
Appreciate it, man.
No worries, bro.